Hey guys, Shazam here again, and in this video you'll be joining me in my quest to find out what Madara's Mangekyo ability is. Now these aren't gonna be canon of course since they were never outright stated, but I'll treat them as canon cause I said so. Plus, not gonna lie, some are very logical. One thing I want to point out is that considering most Sharingans have two abilities, one in each eye except for Kodowa Matsukami, yes, both eyes have the same ability. Madara's abilities could be two of the abilities mentioned in this list, or one, or none. Anyway, let's get this started. Number 1, Limbo. Everybody talks about Limbo, and I mentioned it here because it's the least likely. Not only because it was said to be a Rinnegan ability already, but also because he only activated it when he implanted the Rinnegan. Meanwhile, he was already using Susanoo without eyes, which requires both Sharingan to be activated. Now, maybe you could argue that it was a weaker version of Limbo, like a Limbo that can't interact with the physical world, just otherworld Madara that he can swap places with for convenience purposes. But then again, Limbo is like Madara's Aminata Chikara, which is an entirely new ability Sasuke gained, so I'd imagine they'd be the same. Number 2 is Absorption. I know none of you saw this one coming because it's also very unlikely, but the reason I mentioned it is because we know Absorption is a Rinnegan ability and Madara without eyes managed to absorb Hashirama's Senjutsu. Now we don't have evidence that he can't use other Rinnegan abilities aside from the fact that he used no other abilities other than that Absorption Jutsu. And we don't know if lack of Rinnegan even prevents him from using them, since they're not special Rinnegan abilities like Limbo, but the main 6 paths, so it might be that he could use them without eyes. But then again, he didn't use other Rinnegan abilities, which kinda gives me my doubts about it being Rinnegan's absorption. Another reason to add to that thought is the fact that when getting hit by Amaterasu, he just took off his armor. Maybe he can't absorb Jutsu but can absorb chakra with direct contact like how Yoroi did it. That's why he only absorbed Senjutsu. Now, one reason I don't think this is very plausible is because, well, it wasn't stated, and the second reason is that Absorption is a very unusual Sharingan ability, plus it doesn't sound like one, and all other Sharingan abilities have something to do with eyes except for this one. Amaterasu requires a line of sight, Kodowa Matsukami and Tsukuyomi require chakra in the eyes, Kamui requires a dimension that's accessible through the eyes. So what's the correlation between this and the eyes? I don't see any. Number 3, we have Dropping Meteors. Now this ability has no name, it was called Tengai Shinsei or Heavens Concealed, you want to call it FU Jutsu, I don't know. But I personally believe it's called simply Chibaku Tensei. I mean, he's just attracting meteors with the gravitational force of the Diva path, nothing unusual. It's very consistent with the path, so that's my take. I mean, he did use a similar ability when he used Chibaku Tensei and then dropped them in his 6 paths form. Even Nagato managed a mini version of that using Bansho Tenin. As for the signs he used with Susanoo, therefore proving he needs a Susanoo active for it, well, maybe his Susanoo provides the extra sets of hands for the hand signs required, and that's all. Doesn't make it a Sharingan ability, so I don't think this is it either. Number 4, Rewinding Time or Seeing the Future. Well, Seeing the Future is kind of what the base Sharingan ability is. I mean, it's not that, but the Sharingan just sees the pattern of someone's movement to expect their next move, but still kinda similar. And I don't think seeing the future in the middle of a battle is a good idea, cause then it would either work like a genjutsu and you're seeing something that isn't there, which is dumb, or you'll see 2 of the enemy, one is the future you're seeing and the other is the real one. So no, I don't think this is it. As for Rewinding Time, that ability was seen in Storm Generations, which for some reason is agreed upon in the community that it's canon. Well, I got news for you. It's not. Cause no, CyberConnect 2 CEO has no say in what's canon and what's not. That's 1. And 2, I don't believe canon itself even exists in Japanese. I mean the word. And 3, so do we have 2 canon events now? For example, Jiraiya vs Pain went completely differently from the manga. Also, does my gameplay count as canon? So no, I believe Revolution is canon before Generations, but unfortunately for you, neither one is. But it did catch my attention in the manga. There was a panel where Madara's Mangekyo is zoomed in on, and it just reminded me of the game. Though to be honest, I don't think this is his ability. I only mentioned it because it's always brought up. I mean, why didn't he use it? Seems like a power that would be too OP. It's weird that he never used it, but just add it to the list. Number 5, Tsukuyomi. I'm well aware that's Itachi's ability, but there's a reason the Eye of the Moon plan has the name Infinite Tsukuyomi, even before the regular Tsukuyomi was a thing. I mean, why call it infinite if it's the only Tsukuyomi to exist? Well, it's cause even before Itachi awakened his Mangekyo Sharingan, a Tsukuyomi that wasn't an infinite Tsukuyomi was used, and that was by Madara. I guess we can call it the finite Tsukuyomi. It looked to be the opposite of Itachi Tsukuyomi, as it was very white inside as opposed to Itachi's negative colors for his Tsukuyomi. Now you can say that that version relies on the Geto statue, therefore it's not a Sharingan ability but a Rinnegan one. Well, he was only borrowing power from the Geto statue, which I assume he means the chakra stored in it, since that's also how he was still alive. And we do know abilities can be replicated, since Sasuke has Amaterasu as well. You could say it was a result of Itachi giving it to him, but one, it was implied that being related by blood could grant the same Mangekyo abilities, and two, that would mean Sasuke's other eye would have been useless had Itachi not done what he had done, but it would also still make sense for brothers to have complementary abilities to one another. Number 6. Seeing through clones. Now this is directly stated to be Madara's ocular powers, but that doesn't mean it's a Mangekyo ability necessarily, since a Sharingan is compared to a ninja tool that can be trained. But referring to it as his eyes power is kinda too specific. Is it likely that it is? Yeah, he's the only one who's shown to be able to do that. Nobody, and I mean nobody else, can do that. Now the reason that makes me reluctant to say this is 100% his ability is a very silly reason. This is a crappy Mangekyo ability. Now don't get me wrong, this could be useful when the enemy is trying to distract Madara and he can see through their plan by knowing which one is the real one. But what are you gonna do about it really? They're still equally as powerful, with the only setback of clones, including the original, is the nerfed attack scale they're able to make. Having a Mangekyo ability that only sees through clones is like using a Harpy deck with Buster Blader in it in hopes of getting an opponent that uses a Blue Eyes Dragon deck. What are the odds that your enemy would depend on physical clones? So yeah, I mean, this is like Shin's Mangekyo ability tier. And a side note, he wasn't shown to be able to see through shadow clones, only elemental clones, specifically wood clones. Maybe that's why Tobirama created it in the first place. Never fails to disappoint. But I suppose Madara's reason to exist outside of being the savior is to fight Hashirama, so that might be good enough for him. Number 7. Stacked abilities. Listen. To me, this makes the most sense, to be honest. His Mangekyo ability could just be that it has better perception, stronger genjutsu, and by extension a stronger Susanoo, mainly for 2 reasons. 1. His ability to control Nine Tails. It's said that only the Mangekyo can control the Nine Tails. Everybody who thought that, Itachi, Danzo, Jiraiya, Minato, they all thought that because Madara did it. But Madara is the only person to ever actually do it on his own. The Mangekyo alone isn't enough. The only other person who could control Nine Tails was Obito, who had a Mangekyo Sharingan, and even he knows that wasn't the only thing that allowed him to do it. In fact, not even Danzo could control Nine Tails with his Mangekyo, and Obito knew that, which is why he concluded Danzo implanted Hashirama cells into his body to be able to control Nine Tails. And yet, Madara did it alone. No Hashirama cells, only by having a Mangekyo. And the second reason is his Susanoo. We've all seen the last stage of the Susanoo of everyone who didn't have Hashirama cells or Six Paths powers, and all of them max out at the fully armored Susanoo. By that I mean Sasuke and Itachi, or Shisui if you want to count Revolution, since Kishimoto designed it. And Madara's is the only one that's shown to be the size of a Biju. It's huge. That's not a normal fully armored Susanoo. And no, even Sasuke didn't show a Susanoo that huge. And we know Susanoo evolves with use. Sasuke achieved that form of Susanoo even before getting Itachi's eyes, so it doesn't appear to evolve further. There's one scene where Sasuke did manifest legs for his fully armored Susanoo. It wasn't fully armored. But not only is that something Madara does with clones and without eyes, making it something insignificant, but also the fact that Sasuke might have only been able to do it because of Naruto's cloak he got. Plus, what if the ability that allowed Madara to be able to see through clones was just that because his ability is enhancing all existing abilities, including the perceptive ability, which helps him see through chakra. So yeah. I've always had a feeling this was his Mangekyo ability because his Susanoo is just huge. Look at that thing. Also, I decided to throw in a little extra something here for the people who stuck around for this long. How did Madara shatter the deity gates when even the Ten Tails with his massive physical mass and strength was held down by it? I mean, Jubito did it when he was controlled by the Ten Tails, but does that mean Madara is more powerful than the Ten Tails? No, because otherwise why even absorb it? Plus, the fact that Madara only has a bit of Hashirama cells, whereas Hashirama barely had more chakra than Naruto and Kyuubi combined, and could easily tell Jubito is stronger than him simply by looking at him in that form, which is the form he gains simply by having the Ten Tails, which is chakra inside him basically. The answer is actually simple. It wasn't technically Madara who broke them, but rather it was Madara's soul. Why do I say that? Well, because it doesn't make sense for Madara to destroy it suddenly. He hadn't come back to life at that point, and his power wasn't restored since his Rinnegan was still there. The souls that are restored with the Rinne Tensei use the King of Hell to cast out said souls, and the soul falls from the sky, hitting the body it's gonna revive. Madara was completely underneath those gates, and of course, it's a soul. Kinda doesn't have a physical form, but has to get inside the body. It wouldn't just hang around cause some seal was in the way. So of course, by going through the seal, it breaks the gates. Honestly, don't even say I'm reaching cause I'm pretty sure not going through the gates is more of a reach. I mean, can you imagine Pain reviving guys under rubble only for them to wake up and die? Anyway, this is it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did, like and subscribe please. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.